You can cross-share audiences, but if neither of you have an audience, what a waste of time. You can create your own following for your own narrative, your own point of view, your own whatever it is. Everything else is easy from that.
You got to ask yourself, well, why aren't we putting that effort into just going direct?
You will find people that are just more proactive and believe in your company and know it and like it and position it in the right way. And some who just barely can do their job, so they're not going to do yours as well. You can be a small company, but you offer something uniquely advantageous to the client and the partner. You can open the doors to huge markets.
I nearly threw up watching that. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Hey Alex, how you doing today?
Good, Jack, how are you?
Good. Yes, we're going to talk about some partnerships today, or partnerships, the concept of that. Something that's brought up a lot in marketing. You might have, if you're listening in, you might have senior management trying to get you to do them. Someone might be pushing it. You might be considering it. You might be doing them and they're not doing that well. Alex and I have had quite a bit of experience with partnerships over our careers, so we thought we'd just talk about this concept in particular for this episode. It might give you some ammunition to go back and talk to stakeholders with. Might help you make the strategic decision whether you should do them or not, or whether you should keep going with them if they're not going that well. So I'll hand over to you, mate, because you've got a better definition for partnership than I do.
Well, I think this is like, and again, back to we're all science backgrounds here. And I think that like we think about partnerships, I mean, that probably has somewhat of an umbrella across a couple of things. You know, things like there's affiliate marketers out there, there's influence marketing out there, there's channel partnerships, there's a bunch of ones. The short of answer, I think I'd take the definition of like selling or marketing through someone else. I've seen it done very, very well, and I've seen it done awful. And I think the idea of partnerships is most people approach it, and I'd say 90% of the times I get involved is like people go, oh, let's partner with this big company because we can sell to their audience. And it's the same as what we keep saying on this podcast. It's all very one linear, single-minded of like, let's tap into their audience. But the irony is, they're probably thinking the same thing about you or someone else. And they're going, oh, well, I just want to tap into their audience. And they can make, if you're a sales-led organization, these bigger ones, it's always the same thing. They can make introductions to the right customers and we can sell to their customers. It's so selfishly focused. It always dies. Because, okay, say someone said that to you point blank. Oh, can you introduce me to your customers? I can sell to them. You tell them to bugger off. And into that same empathy, what would you want to hear? And I would want to hear, what can you offer them? How can you help me? What can you provide that's like I can't get today? And I think this is where so many of the partnerships go wrong, is that anyone who's ever been to a conference, and I've now done this, I'd say a dozen different industries and a dozen different companies, and I've helped them with their expos or their booths at different conferences, and it happens like death and taxes. During the break, you'll have the conference will be going, speakers will start, and then there's a few people on the floor, but not many people there. And the expo people, usually the sales people, BD people who are manning the booths, will go talk to each other. And every time, at least a dozen times, it'll happen, and people come over and go, oh, what do you do? Oh, we do software that does this. Oh, we actually do some hardware over here. We should talk. We should partner. We should work together. And they have no interest in going, I want to help your business.
Yes.
And fair enough. They're busy, right? And this is what people forget. Your company's already, every professional is usually very busy. They don't want to add more work to their plate. They're not just going to promote you because they want to do it. And they'll be like, we should talk. And I would say 99.999%, it's never eventuated into anything. And I used to take graduates or new people to the business or just junior professionals to these things, and they'd always go, oh, this sounds great. Oh, they've got 500 customers in there. Oh, let's talk to them. And it all sounds good on paper, and everyone talks about partnerships. And I've been with companies that did build a partnerships arm to the business, and again, made them with these, successfully got a contract, I think, done, and it was commission-based, to these huge consultancies. And it was just like left to their own devices. Well, go promote us, please. And nothing ever happened because the fundamental thing that the three rules why they sort of never work is that you have to have something that obviously benefits you, something that benefits the partner, and something that benefits the client that the client can't get individually from you too. So if they can go to, there was a partnership, I think I used the example of the Apple Fit app on the iPhone that used a lot of the technology through the Nike Run app, I think it was. But basically it was saying like two different companies, and they created the idea of, I think it was like a tag within the Nike shoe that the Apple Watch could read. And it was like, okay, that's something that Apple benefits from. They get traction into the Nike market. Nike benefits from getting traction into the Apple market, and the customer then gets something that they can't get individually. So then they had to go for a run and tap in their technology and their stats to their shoe. And you're like, that makes total sense. I think I actually did quite well. And that was a couple of years ago. But then you see ones that don't work well in those other customers. And I was part of this organization that they had weekly meetings with this partner. And it was like, what do we do? How do we make this work? And he was like, can you introduce us to this customer? And these BD people were like, no, I've worked so hard to develop my relationship with this customer. Why would I bring you in? Because you want to pitch your product.
Yeah.
No, that's going to awful experience. I'm not going to do that.
Yes.
So again, and no one's being customer minded. So I think what's going to benefit you, and you've got to look at that 3-part point and go, well, how's the customer going to benefit? I always lead in with, what can I do that's going to make this partner go, holy crap, let's bring you in front of everyone. Yeah, for sure. And to that point, we discussed a couple of episodes back around a software company, and this is a really good one for B2B software that I work in, is a services company. So to that same point, there was one where I spoke about it. They do diversity inclusion plans for these large organizations. It's not their core competency, so they fill that gap with a partner. And they said, how about instead you work with all these people, develop plans, and they used to get asked, can you manage, do you have software that can help manage the plan, and vice versa. The people selling the software got asked a lot, and that's a perfect partnership.
That is good.
So you go like, awesome. How about it's not only that, but then this partner gets motivated to go, I do not want to do that work. No, you come in and do it, please. And it's like, thank you, more customers for me. And all the crap that they used to deal with and all that wasted time and their competency, they got to offshore it to someone else.
That's so good.
That's a good partnership. And I think that, and I usually just draw a Venn diagram even when I first meet them and go, cool, what do you want out of this? What can you give us? Because this is what I want. And then I ask them the question of, how do you think the customer is going to benefit from this with us working together? And if they're very BD focused, you won't get a good answer because they're just thinking, oh, more leads, more sales, more leads, more sales.
Yes. That I don't have to do much for or anything for.
I just get given it, right? And
if only.
Yeah, right. Like, what's your experience in it? What's your thoughts?
No, I agree. I think you've summed it up really well. I have been to a couple of those conferences and expos, not as many as you, but I know that you've got that analogy where it's sort of a bit like two people clinging to the door and drowning together. So Rose and
Jack in the
Titanic. It's I'm sorry for stealing your joke, but
good.
But Jack had to let go, right? It's you can't be too on it. People actually argue in that case it could be, but like it's both parties coming to the table going, I want what you have. I'm not really that fussed about what I can provide you. I'm probably not even thinking about that. And that obviously happens a lot. So I think you've summed that up well though. I mean, I don't have a whole lot to add to that because that's probably the number one problem I've seen. And probably the second problem I would say with partnerships is being a bit flippant about the decision to do it. When I do consider partnerships a place decision. So one of the four P's of marketing, the one that's most forgotten all the time, place. You are distributing yourself. You're kind of distributing yourself potentially through another party. Not quite the same as being, having like, a big brand going direct to consumer or through retail stores. It's not quite at that level, but I do think it is it's not promotion. It's not product. It's not price. I mean,
it's a whole other channel.
Yeah. No, I just urge people to kind of consider it at that level because you have to maintain it. Like depending on what the partner would need to keep working with you or be motivated to refer things to you, that will cost something. It's not free. Whether your organization's set up to do that well, like if it is a lot of upkeep with the partners, I mean, you got to ask yourself, well, why aren't we putting that effort into just going direct?
Yes.
So those are the things I'd say. You need to consider it like you would almost like a distribution decision.
I was going to say there's a really, really good quote, A16Z founder, and I can't remember the name of it. So they're a really big organization. They're now a VC. They have one where he says, if the founder can't sell it, the sales team won't be able to sell it, which means the partners won't be able to sell it, which means you've got no hope. So they say the whole thing all starts with the top of the head. I'm talking to smaller companies, right? I'm probably more talking about startups here. But if the founder can't do it, you need to sell. If the sales team can't sell it, every rung down from it, they'll do a little bit less. It'll be a little less effective. So the founder should be the king of it, or the king or queen of it. They should just smash it. Whereas if it goes to the sales team, should emulate it and learn from them. But then the partners, again, it's not their job. If they're going to dedicate 2 hours of their week for it, they're going to have to say like, well, what am I going to get from this? I'm putting time aside for you. What am I getting? And again, they're not part of the organization, so they're not going to have all the stories and the right pitching techniques and the right background. So they're going to do it in a lesser version of what you can do. This is where I think I usually put the bucket into maybe 3 major ones when it comes to partnerships, and that's either a technology partner, and that's usually an integration. So if your, Panda Docs is a very common one, or DocuSign that integrates into Salesforce, that's a partnership that makes sense. So you've got, and then they both probably promote each other because you can say like, oh, instead of DocuSign or instead of Panda Docs developing a CRM on the back of their platform, which costs them too much money and time, screw it, you've solved my need, and I'll plug into your need. You don't have to do this thing. And then also then you get to funnel off each other's markets. So great, that's a technology partnership. There's a sales partnership that turns into, like I was saying before, like services versus software. You plug each other's needs and you promote each other. And then that probably caveat to that is either like they do it because it's going to advantage them and their market, or you give them commission bases. So that's when, there's distributors that we work with, that companies that have, if you can sell, say a hardware, if you sell a car on someone's behalf and you get 10 grand off selling that car, that's a pretty good motivator. I'm going to take time out of my week and my day because I'm going to advantage from that. And then the third one is more the affiliate marketing promotional side of things. And all three of those absolutely need a lot of upkeep. And the same as having a channel into organic socials or having a channel into paid ads, whatever it is. It's got to be maintained and managed and iterated upon. Problem is people go, I partner with old mate and they're just going to give me all these leads. But when you do like affiliate marketing, that's when it comes down to, and an example I use is the drone software company I work for. I help with a couple of things that they have other services companies that may not necessarily need each other a lot, but the idea they both have the same persona. They both market, they both sell to the same type of person, which is very helpful. And then going, okay, well, instead of me creating up all this content, there's stuff that you can bring to the conversation that I don't know about that's going to help them. And there's stuff that I can bring to your conversation. And the simplest way we do it is we do joint webinars. And there's one we did recently. So it was a drone lawyer who has all this great experience and background of what happens to people who operate drones and where they go wrong and how to fix it. And we interviewed him about stuff like that. And he got a lot of exposure to a huge audience for free to basically make him look good. And that helped him. He was like, yep, he gave up his day and he helped plan and we write the script together. And then we got something because then we got to bring new content in, expertise content to share with our audience, and which then builds advocacy, builds people there. So there's the third one's a marketing one, which isn't the most effective, but it's usually the easiest. And this is where I look into, and I've got a content piece on this on my website on the lean marketing funnel. And very early on, it's helpful to go when you've got no followers, no traction, no nothing, going out to these places. And the one I use is, so with the volunteer management software app that I did, we went to these associations and they said like, we're not going to promote your product. We're just going to pitch your stuff to our audiences. Instead, we're going to, if you can offer something though. And so we said, how about we do a webinar on the 5 things to consider technology for when managing volunteers? Helpful. Valuable content, it's what they want to hear. But then when we did it, we got exposure to like 30,000 of their members, and it like improved our brand exposure. It developed trust. It created some leads for us as well without needing to push the product. And then they advantage because they got free content to build as well. So I think it's the idea that like the marketing one can be done sooner rather than later. That's not a bad idea, but that means you need to know your product, your service, who you're selling it to, and the people who you partner with. The fastest way to figure out if they're the right partner, who are they selling to? If they're selling to the same people you're selling to, good chance they could be a partner. But then the next step is, what are you going to offer them? What are they going to offer you? And then the third step is, what's the client going to get out of it? And the third step is, how are we going to maintain this? Because the moment you start talking about quarterly catch-ups and good partnership channels, which I've seen before, part of their marketing team creates a funnel or a channel where they have to educate them constantly. I was saying before, that hardware one, like selling a new car, if the latest car gets released, that seller needs to be educated on what's that new car, who's it for, what does it give me, why is the price difference? It's a lot of work, but when it's done well, and I think that's when it's done bad, but when it's done well is where, to that exact point, you can be a small company, but you offer something uniquely advantageous to the client and the partner. You can open the doors to huge markets. And there's ones I've seen before. A lady in the Netherlands sells, was it like skincare cream, but it was for something to do with bikinis or something like that. It was meant to be for as they go into summer, and it was helping on those ones. So there was a very small company that did quite well, had a small advocate base, but then they partnered with a swimwear company who was huge, international. And they were like, yeah, this is great because we would love to bring you guys in. We love your brand. We love what you're doing. And I think as maybe they get a 5% cut of whatever they sell through their channels or whatever the code was, and promoted the crap out of them. I think also in every bikini sold, they got a little pamphlet in the box that said like, hey, 10% off if you use XYZ coupon in this thing. I think that can work really well. And so again, win-win-win, they all win. And then there's the affiliate marketing, which turns into more of a affiliate / influencer marketing, which I think is getting very popular and very good for 2025. And the idea of that being that same one, like say you're selling surfboards and you partner with Lane Beachley or some big surf, or Kelly Slater or some professional, they've already got the captured audience of your buyers. And so if they turn around and go, yeah, I use the surfboard, it's my favorite sort of board out there. Those ones, you've usually got to get acceptance from them. Like they won't just promote anything for the sake of promoting it. Well, they shouldn't, because they're going to have to stand by it. And the other thing is it's more costly. So partnerships, some people go, I'll promote your product, but I want 10 grand.
Yeah.
Or I've seen people go, I want $1,000 per Facebook post. I think as an order of magnitude, I think I read that Kim Kardashian charges $750,000 US for one Instagram post, which, I mean, she can probably warrant that because she's got so much exposure.
Yeah, that might be cheap.
That might be very cheap.
Yeah.
If she endorsed you, like, you'd probably get a lot of business very quickly. So I think there's different levels of the partnerships. I think people rush too quickly to partnerships because they're so self-focused.
And like perceived to be easier almost, or like quicker or something, and that's not necessarily the case.
Or they perceive it to go, oh, this selling stuff's exhausting.
Yeah.
I'll just give it to old mate.
Give it to someone else to sell.
Yeah,
for.
he'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it's exhausting you, it's going to be easy for them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's funny like that, and I have seen. I'll clarify that when I was talking about partnerships, it is just in the sales sense.
Yeah,
just,
right.
I would, all the influencer marketing and that, I wasn't referring to that when I was talking about it before. But I have seen, it does bring to mind when I did see a business coach, I think he was once, say he defines a partnership as having a signed document where another business agrees to send them an X amount of leads, qualified leads per month. I nearly threw up watching that. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That is truly stupid. Like they've got you're going to give them KPIs. Yeah. They're trying to sell their own stuff.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Why? Yeah.
Why would someone sign that? I just thought that was ridiculous. So that comes back to that idea of thinking about, what's in it for them. Yeah. So that's what came to mind. Another thing that's come to mind with this is I once was speaking to a smaller business owner, let's say he's an accountant or something like that, who knew another business who worked in kitchen cleaning or something, and let's say there was another business that was in, I don't know, building websites. I can't remember what the third one was, but they decided it was a good idea for them to write a joint blog post together instead of just one each. None of them are getting any business, right? They go, oh, well, let's team up and like share what? Like, and why is someone going to read about, someone goes, yeah, you know what I need? I need to think about cleaning my kitchen or a commercial kitchen, I think it was, and about accounting in the one blog post.
Yeah, like, both non-complementary, both don't have demand.
No, but that's the three people clinging to the door in that case and drowning together because everyone's hoping that someone else has something. If you had something, you'd be putting it into your own. You'd be using your own equity, right? So you're not going to use your equity to promote someone else. Or that's certainly not a repeatable strategy. Yeah. So there's a few things that I'd say. I have seen some advantages of partnerships where, let's say there was a software development company I was working with at some point in time. We approached design or like UX agencies who can't do the development part, but it makes sense to pass off that once it's been done. That does, in that case, okay, the UX agency looks a bit better because it's like we can give you the streamlined process the whole way through. We've got a partner we can trust. In this case, to offer them value, though, we offered some free consulting early on in the process so they can consult and get software expertise prior to doing the design because it's usually for, quite complex products or complex websites. So they could call this company in and get advice. But so there's like this increased reputation, and a better a better feeling for the company to see it go all the way through. If it did go all the way through and it became a product and that's easy for them to put in their portfolio then, the UX company, because if they just did the designs and then it kind of falls over and it doesn't get developed, there's nothing really to show. That's a few things that I've seen work.
Yeah, I think, and to your point, the original one, I think my comment on that first point about two people clinging to the door and drowning, I think it's like the idea that you can share audiences, but if neither of you have an audience, what a waste of time. I'll take my one follower and your one follower and we'll share it. Yeah. And usually the best way to do those partnerships is where there's already traction. And that's what I say to people, don't rush into it too quickly unless you figured out your own stuff first. Yes. Like if you know what you're selling and who you're selling it for, which is all the fundamentals that sadly a lot of people don't clearly define, who you're selling it for, why you're selling it for, and what are you going to help them with. And then using that to then partner with others is fine. Just be careful. Don't partner with other smaller businesses. And I hear this all the time. People come back, oh, we met Bob over here. He's keen to partner with us. The same three questions. What is he going to get? What are we going to get? And what's the client going to get? Because if he's got 3 followers and we have 10, cool, he gets one more of our followers. Like, what a waste of time.
And it dilutes the follower's attention as
Yeah.
well. Like, you're going to have someone who wants to follow you, and then you're going to start telling them about accounting. I mean, what? No, use that real estate and that mental real estate to talk about you and relate it to the problem you solve.
And the cool thing is, if you get a good, and this is kind of with that same industry I was talking before, they have probably, I would say, 10 to 15,000 subscribers or followers, like a good chunk, and quite a sort of quite advocate. That then became an asset for us to use as negotiation leverage. So we talked to other customers, and we had other people coming to us and going, hey, let's do something together, because they want to get exposure to our audience. So easier said than done, but like, I still think if you can build your own following, this means for all marketing, from my opinion, across the board, if you can create your own following for your own narrative, your own point of view, your own whatever it is, everything else is easy from that. You've already got the attention. That's the hardest thing to build today. You can get that attention. Everything else will trickle down from that. And then for partnerships, you can leverage the crap out of that. And
but it's interesting that you get to that stage and then you might not really be as interested in partnerships.
That's right, because you already got it's already gone through. That's right.
And you're making it work yourself, and a partner's probably not going to be interested until you have something to offer them, and you don't have something to offer them yet. But what about more established companies? So who might be already doing partnerships, or they might be considering it. A lot of things to think about here, but I would say my first thing is it's a considerable decision. It's not a flippant, let's just
try it and
wake up one day and do it, because it will have to be maintained. You do have to, it's almost like another customer base you're selling to, almost.
Whole other group of stakeholders you have to manage.
And why is it better to do that than to put those resources into what you're already doing? That's a question, I think.
I think it's, my answer to that is what defines in what the whole back question again, what are you going to get out, what are they going to get out? I look at it in a point of, it gives you faster traction, faster trust, and faster brand exposure to a bunch of people. And the example I use is, you think about, now that I'll say this, you'll see it more. Musicians do it all the time. They do collabs, what they call it, but they'll do like, who was it? Like Justin Bieber and Kid Laroi. I saw one. They did a bit of a case study on that as well. So they had similar followers, but Kid Laroi was still early, and then he partnered with Justin Bieber and got a crap load of attention from him, and then vice versa. Beyonce did like a country music song or something like that, and did it with a country music person. So that's sort of interesting, right? It's almost like two different markets. This country person who came across to pop, all of a sudden got immediate credibility. And immediate traction, and probably did a crap load of selling off the back of it, and did a lot of another sort of follow. So I see this one of like, for a more mature company, you got two developed audience. If your audiences are almost overlapped, identical, maybe it's probably not worth it. Could be just another channel and bit of attention back to them.
See, that's under the promotion banner though, I'd say. Like, it's more of a collaboration than like a partnership expecting someone to send you leads per se.
When you say sending leads, what does that look like?
Well, I'm thinking B2B, I think.
It's like two sales teams who send each other leads.
Like a mid-tier accounting firm and a law firm partnering, because they're probably not going to make a song together. But
again, I think it comes down to what's the outcome? Do you want it to be? And I have seen that. Like, there was companies work when I used to do engineering. They were drafting companies, both very mature, very large organizations. And the partnership advantage was we would get trusted referrals. Now, the hard thing about that is you can't control that, because those referrals only occur when the other business has those interactions. But the way we did it is that we had to know our category entry points to say, hey, if they mention these six things, then you refer us. And it was this thing of like something.
Such a good thing to arm the partner with.
And we used to say that. I used to say, hey, when do you typically get brought into the customers? Because then I would help our sales team to go, hey, if someone mentions, like an integration with an ERP, or I'll use that same example for the engineering and the drafting services. If it's more than a quick AutoCAD change that we can't do ourselves, if it becomes a new redevelopment, these guys are really good in residential areas. If it's a residential one, or if you hear that there, then prompt these guys and send them, it was like a PDF one-pager, which is great for product marketers. It's like, just send them this thing, gives them a quick overview of sort of what it does, and introduce them, or CC Bob into it, and he'll take it from there. And vice versa, we went back to Bob and said, hey, if they mention things about like, if they're operating near a river stream or with geotech firm, so if they're doing these things where you need these certain tests done, here's 3 questions to ask. If that pops up, you refer us in. That sort of one in that partnership needs, the value was it over time that both organizations learnt and became very familiar with each other's strengths and competencies, that you could go, oh yeah, call this guy. The tricky thing with that is that relies a lot on, do they like you? and the frequency of their customer.
Yes, yes. And I think like you often have like you have to catch up for beers and go out to dinner with them and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Those are the maintenance of those partnerships.
It's another part of the BD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, and I'm just thinking, literally this week I was speaking to someone about this, and with the category entry point thing is what happens in their interaction with the customers that they're going to hear from their clients.
Yep.
That we want them to then think of us.
Yes.
And then we offer them back to them, like you were saying there.
And when does that happen there? And I think when the professional services get a bit tricky, because it's kind of funny with that same other company we tried the affiliate marketing with. When we did partnerships, we do get referrals, and it was kind of funny, right? Because they offered financial incentive and all these incentives, and they said no, and because they liked us and because we fit a gap that they couldn't fit, they would just, because they liked us and because it made sense to the customer, and their driver was they care about the customer, and if they can slot another solution into their stack, that they would just refer us in. But the problem was we couldn't control it, and that's when our board and our senior leadership team got very frustrated with it, because they went, we need more referrals. I said, well, you have to have an incentive to leverage. If they're referring to people if and when it occurs, like the whole engineering versus drafting one, how do you make that drafting services company bring more customers in? You can educate them, you can prompt them, but if you prompt them like every week to go, have you got any more leads? They'll be like, mate, fuck off. Mm-hmm. I like the idea of paid incentive and affiliate marketing, and because it's more in your control, you can leverage it and push it harder. When it comes to partnerships in terms of whatever it is, you just have to hope and pray that you've given them the right information and they're going to be smart enough to prompt you at the right time.
Yes, and you have to keep effectively prompting them, because that was what I was planning this week with a client as well, is making sure, okay, so even if they agree, like how do we keep them engaged and what do we keep doing? What's the upkeep? Okay, so what I'm going to say to that though as well is that I typically oversubscribe those partnerships. I'm like, we want to aim to get, if we realistically need 5 or 10, we need to get 30 or 35 and just move along with them, knowing partners, okay, knowing that it's going to churn, and that you'll come back to this core group of partners that is actually referring your work. But I think what I have seen though is people go, oh, we've got our 5. But
yes.
No, go wild. Get a fair few.
If those 5 are working, great, but they're probably not.
Probably unlikely the 5, and so that's what I say to that is, yes, it's not within your, you don't have as much control or perceived control, but you can oversubscribe it, and then knowing that you're going to go back to looking after a core group of people who you just click and you catch up for dinner once a month and all that crap, like all the wining and dining. I still think that's a legitimate approach. Yeah,
I agree. And I think it's one of those ones too, again, I keep going back to it, but the whole test, right? Let's just do a 6-month test. And I've said this to people too, and they usually go, well, when they want a partner, they go, let's get a contract drafted up, and I want to know the terms, conditions, the payment. And I say like, hey, let's do an MOU, something like really simple. Let's figure out that if it does convert, like we want to make sure you don't leave empty handed. Like if you do want to help us, we'll pay it, but let's just test it, because what I've found is that, and this has happened many, many times, you spend months doing a contract up and negotiating terms, conditions, and nothing happens. Literally nothing happens. You both waste all this time and money toward it. So I say like, you got to assess the demand first and do whatever's amicable and whatever works, but doing the bare minimum test and do say 6 months or 12 months, whatever it is, and go, let's see what happens. If it's a matter of category entry point, things will pop up as they happen. And I agree with you, oversubscribe, do more than you think, and sit back and see what happens, because you will find people that are just more proactive and believe in your company and know it and like it and position it in the right way. And some who just barely can do their job, so they're not going to do yours as well. I think that too. And I think standing back and going, okay, all the ones that worked well, why did they work? But to your point again, there has to be a reason to do this, because you're now selling to 2 different groups of people.
Yes.
So it has to be strategic. And I will finish this off. My last story though is where it has worked strategically is in the Australian mining, resource, oil and gas government sector. Very difficult to get in. If you're a startup, it's insanely difficult to get in, because they've got all this procurement and everyone's protected, and it's hard to get those conversations started. So one thing that worked really well is that we went to people, in this case with engineering drawing software, and we partnered with drafters who were already on the ground floor at these mine sites and oil rigs and stuff, and they were familiar with the system. They knew who made the decisions. They knew what the problems were. Like, they were essentially a pseudo customer. And so we were like, let's partner with them, because what we realized in some of them is that their existing system sucked. So we were like, and then we found that these drafters advocated us, because they're like, this is a way better system. We got to use this. So it was a win-win-win. They were like, you beat that. And these drafties were like, you know what's even cooler? If we become the admins for the system, we cement our position on the site. We get more work, we get more stuff going through, and they can upsell the customer. And then the customer advantage, because they've got a better system, They get the drawings are always right on time. They've got someone who's going to manage it. So there was that one there that was another really good example that we partnered with them. They advantaged, we advantaged, so did the customer. But it helped us hop over probably 10 barriers to entry. And it sped up the system so much faster, which if you're in enterprise world, it will kill most businesses, the sales cycle. There is a lot there. And I think, again, if you can motivate the partner to jump out of their chair and want to promote you, that's 90% of it.
That's an awesome way to end it, I think. Yeah, you've got, and look, Alex has got a lot more experience than me in this space. I think we've covered a lot there.
That is a lot.
Certainly. So yeah, I hope that helps with some decisions around whether you keep going with it. And sometimes it is right just to cut the partnership channel. If it's not right, it does need to go. At some stage you can, and this is what you can sell internally, is that you're effectively selling to a whole nother segment and don't even get paid for that. Looking at the costs of that, there would be a cost to doing that. And you're presenting that, I think managing that up will paint a clear picture. But yes, very much a big decision in my opinion. It might be the right decision. I'm not saying it's not the right decision, but a big decision and should be treated as such.
Yep, agreed. Awesome.
Cool.
Partnerships, there it is. How do and not to do it.
That's it. Talk to you soon, Alex.
Thanks, mate.